Alrighty, we are live. Hello, guys. Welcome or welcome back to the Tarot Magician. Renee here. Today we have a very special guest, Miss Jen from Jen's Balanced Tarot. I want you guys to welcome her. I think I did leave the link to her channel down below in the description box, but if I didn't, I'll recheck it afterwards and I'll make sure to put it there. But I'm pretty sure I did whenever I set the stream up. So make sure you guys go and subscribe if you aren't already. And hello, everybody. We'll say a quick hello. Hello, Angelia. Hi, Miss Becca. Hi, Elle. Hi, Talia. Hi, Chris. I hope everybody is doing well today.
Nice to see everyone.
Yes. So we'll go ahead and get started. So Miss Jen, do you just want to say a little bit about yourself and your channel? Also, how you got started in your journey? Just kind of like mix match everything into one big introduction.
Sure. I mean, I'll just go until you stop me at some point, I suppose. But so my channel is Jen's Balanced Tarot, which when I started it, like the whole balance concept kind of came up because I'm a Libra. And I was like, okay, so how can I work that in there and kind of make that part of it? And I wanted my name in there, right? So I just kind of, and when I started my channel, it was actually pretty new to the tarot in general, right? I would say I probably started my journey for real. And I say that because I kind of played with cards and seen cards in earlier years. But in 2018, I really started to start exploring it. And I started with oracle cards because I always had this impression that in order to read the cards, you had to be psychic. Those two just went together. Right. And I was like, well, I'm not psychic, so therefore I can't read the cards. And I finally...
A lot of people have that idea too, though. Like that, I think a lot of people do, because I get that all the time.
Right. Well, it's like, so I keep this sign up here that I won. It says fortune teller. I don't know if you can see. Let me see if I can get it more into frame. I won this at the Northwest Tarot Symposium. And I'm like, okay, I keep that up there as a joke because I don't consider myself a fortune teller. But once I sort of like took the restrictions off, I was like, okay, the oracle's great, but I love the idea and the system of tarot and being able to learn kind of this whole base structure and apply it. And really, my whole goal was really just to learn to read for myself, like not necessarily to read for others. Again, I tend to put like rules on myself that I probably should stop doing at some point.
No, I think everybody has certain things that they don't do within their practice. Like, for example, me, I don't read about death. Like, that's just the one thing. Because I feel like, it's not my place to say that. And nobody really wants to know it. Even though they do ask it, they still feel a little bit like nervous or scared sometimes. So that's the one thing that I don't question whatsoever. So it's good, I think, to have a little bit of boundaries because it's necessary. At least I think so.
Well, but then also I want to make sure that the boundaries I'm setting are for reasons like ethical, moral reasons. I think that's super important. But I say this for the sake of others who maybe are new to their journey, who want to impose limits on themselves. Don't limit yourself just because you think you can't or shouldn't. Yes. And that's, I think, a different distinction, right?
That is for sure. Yeah, exactly. Like for me, it's also what you feel comfortable, what you don't feel comfortable doing, I think is a good way to set those limits as well. But also making sure you're keeping an open mind is the one thing that I feel like is very, very necessary in the practice for sure.
Right. So then I started okay, why not? Why not me? Why can't I read the cards? This seems fun, right? And so then and once I dove in, I threw myself into the deep end of the swimming pool. It's like, okay, I'm going to really dive into this once I got the ball rolling. And then I found TarotTube. I was like, these people are so awesome. Like, I need to get in on this immediately, right? And I'm like, I'm in the chats, I'm doing the things like, all right, maybe I should let people get to know who I am a little bit. Yeah. And then I thought, you know what, even I don't come here claiming to be able to teach people tarot. I'm not coming here to read the cards. I'm just going to share my journey as it progresses. And that's what my channel has been, is me sharing my evolution with learning tarot, with becoming part of this community, with exploring different decks and different systems and what that looks like. And just hoping that people want to come along for the ride, really.
Right? So what is your favorite system to work with?
Oh, I'm an RWS gal for sure. I
Same.
do have a couple of Tarot de Marseille decks, and I'm like, I keep starting and stopping, like learning. And I always find it interesting to hear the concepts. So I dabble a little bit with that. I know nothing about the Thoth. I have one true Thoth deck, the Tabula Mundi, by MM. What the heck is her? I always get MJ Cullinane and MM. You guys know who I'm talking about. Who does the Fortune's Wheelhouse with Susan T. Chang?
I'm pretty sure someone in the comment section.
Yes, somebody will know. Elle has the deck, I know, and Corbin probably knows. But anyway, so I have this one deck, and it's been on my to study list for about a year and a half, 2 years now. I'm like, one of these days, any day now.
Right.
But I come home to the RWS for sure.
Yeah, me too. I feel like it is funny though, because when at the very beginning I wasn't drawn to like the original RWS, like, you know, with like the whole like I don't know how, like, it looks kind of ancient, I guess, like in a way, right? Like, so for me, I'm like a very colorful person. I love colors. I love like abstract kind of stuff. So I wasn't really drawn to like the original RWS. But now that I've read RWS for like a good 3 to 4 years, I would say, now I'm like, okay, I appreciate the original version too. Like but I feel like I hear that story a lot. Was that the same kind of concept for you as well?
Oh, 1000%. Like I looked at the images and I was like, okay, but I don't know that, you know,
Yeah.
And I did the thing that I think I've heard a lot of other people say this too. I'm like, it's just so yellow. There's so much yellow. And I'm not a yellow or orange person, right? Oh, I don't know what's going on here with the orange. But so yeah, so I would find like I found myself really attracted to really bold decks. Like I was like Chiro Marchetti decks, the really bold digital art. And that now I'm like, digital art, I don't know. Or like the Fountain Tarot that had this really cool architectural look that really resonated with me, because I've always been a real fan of like modern art and things like that. And then it's like, then things started to snowball, and now I've landed totally. I'm a huge fan now of Pixie's artwork. I think I counted, I thought I had 27. I think I have 20. Well, no, probably 27 or 28 like RWS decks that really center around. Some of them are clones a little bit, but I probably have a good at least 10 decks that are just fully Pixie's artwork now. So now I'm a huge fan. But it took me part of the, like, getting to know the tarot and really growing with it and understanding where the core was for that particular system that all these other decks were based on. It really brought a new level of appreciation and love for that.
Same. Exactly. So how many decks do you have in your collection, like in total? If you or if you could guess.
Think I have it all in like a Libib app and on a spreadsheet. Like I double dip. Like I can't just have one organizational system. I need to start
doing that. I need to start doing that. I do.
But I think I have 160 plus, maybe a little over 160 tarot decks, and probably around 60 something oracle decks. And then I have a few Lenormand and a few others. So I'm well on my way to 300.
I recently did because like reorganized like my collection, because I keep them all in like my drawers that I have here, so I don't have like a really big space. So I took everything out and I was like, okay, I need to really see how many I have, right? And in my head I was like, okay, I think I have at least 50. But I counted everything. I only had 30 that were actually tarot, and then probably 20 that were oracle. So, I mean, yeah, altogether I had 50, but I could have sworn I had 50 like tarot. And I was like, well, I think I need to get more. Like,
Yeah, I don't actually look at my collection. Oh, I think I need to get more. But what I do think is like, oh, I need that particular deck for. So now it's like things have started to slow down. And I think
Yeah.
many of us share this story. It's like you go in, and especially if you find tarot too, because oh my goodness, all the decks. Or if you're on Instagram, oh my goodness, all the decks. And you're like,
Yes.
I want. And a lot of it is I think about finding what's really going to resonate, what really matters to me,
Right.
or what really speaks to me, or what can I really read with. And I love my collection because I love the art that has a lot to do with it, right? It's like all the different representations, understanding how these different artists have picked up, or how people have applied pre-existing art to the tarot, or how people bring something new, or now all of the diversity that's coming in. And really, we're finding so many like queer and LGBTQIA plus friendly decks. We're getting a lot more ethnical, that is not a word, ethic diversity. Ethnic. I don't know what was happening there. But so I love that. I was like, oh, I need to have that in my collection. Like I needed to represent the world because to me, that's what tarot allows me to do, is engage with the world and engage with myself, but also with the world.
I agree. So how do you go about your process when you do want to purchase something? Like, do you try to like avoid it, or do you try to tell yourself like, do I really need this? Or do you just listen to your intuition and you're like, you know what, I need this, I'm going to get it. Like, what's your process of purchasing?
I think it depends. So some decks where I'm like, okay, that's intriguing. I'm not entirely sure I need it, so I'll stick it on a wish list, right? I do have a wish list. Or if the deck is harder to find, obviously, then it goes on the wish list, and then I hope that I can discover it at some point. Sometimes I'll see a deck, I'm like, oh, yep, I'm going to get that right now. It makes sense with my budget. It makes sense with my practice, and I just love it, or I think it's really cool. So I think it depends on what it is, how readily available it is. But I do find myself now, I look at like, there are so many new decks. There are so many Kickstarter campaigns. And as much as I want to support every single artist, I'm like, there's so many decks, but so now I'm a little bit like, okay, I'm gonna slow my roll a little bit. I'm gonna wait and see. But then every once in a while, something will come out. So for example, a Kickstarter campaign that recently ended was the Landback Tarot and Oracle deck, which just brings, and it's by an Indigenous creator who is, and I need to do a lot more research on this, which is honestly why I backed the deck, because I really want to read the book that comes with this deck. But it's, it's kind of like taking the whole concept of colonization and all these things. And I think really digging into that. And I think there's a huge opportunity to really hear from a very important voice, some things that maybe I haven't thought about and I need to be thinking about, or I need to be aware of. And so it was an opportunity to learn, which I think is a huge aspect of sometimes why I'll choose to bring a deck. It's like, can I learn something from this? Does it open me up to new things that I haven't thought of or experienced before? So different things like that will really now start to grab me. And I'm like, oh yeah, I got to support that.
I agree. Yeah, because I think I tend to gravitate towards a lot of the same type of concepts, or a lot of the same type of artwork. So I do kind of like to get out there a little bit. So sometimes when I purchase a deck, I'm like, you know what? I don't think I have anything like that in my collection, and I think I'm going to need that every now and then. So I was like, I'm going to go ahead and try it. And then of course, like, if you get a deck, you can always either give it away or give it to a friend, because I do have friends that do read tarot as well. So for me, that's kind of like my process of like thinking of going about it. I'm like, okay, if eventually I don't work with it, I'll go ahead and just give it away, and we'll go with that. But as far as my collection right now, I've gotten along with every single one that I've had, and I haven't need to necessarily given something away. But also because I think I appreciate it, and I do like, this is like my full-time like gig, I guess, as of right now. So for me, the more decks, the better. Like,
yeah. Well, because then you can be like really tailoring that to your different clients, I imagine. And like, if ever I did decide to read for others, knowing that I could kind of reach for decks that I think people can resonate with their life experience is going to be really important. But sometimes I'm just like, oh, that's pretty, and I need it.
Yeah, I think we all kind of get in that little concept every now and then, like, I want to treat myself, so I think I'm just gonna get it. Like,
Yeah.
so what's you said you read for yourself, right? What is your
Mhm.
process of reading for yourself? Do you have like a certain like way you go about it? Like, do you like incense, or do you just like be in your quiet place for a little bit? What is your process of reading for yourself? Because I know I have a lot of clients that ask me, they're like, do you read for yourself, or do you find it difficult to read for yourself at times? Like, so that's why I love asking, what's your process?
I have a few processes, I would say. And I just like to say hi to everybody who's been coming in the chat too. Thanks for listening to us babble. Or me, I'm the babbler. So every day in the morning, I do a daily card pull for myself. And I used to just pull one card for the day, and I've now transitioned to where I pull 3 cards for the day. And when I was doing my Marielle deep dive into that deck, I found a spread that I know a lot of people had heard of, but it wasn't one that I really kind of run into. A 3-card spread where the first position is kind of what's going on within. The second position is what's going on without. And the third position being what's the advice for the day. And I have stuck with that now ever since I started using it because I just love it. It's like, okay, this is what's going on for me internally today. This is what I might encounter externally, maybe what I'm presenting, externally, or what might be around me. And then the advice on how to kind of make the best for the day. And that's kind of how I ask the question, like, how can I make the best out of today? Or what am I going to be facing today? And how can I best take advantage of today, or kind of that kind of thing. So that's sort of how I start my day. I always write it down in a journal and kind of reflect. And then sometimes I'll revisit that later in the day and kind of see how that all played out, or I'll think about it throughout the day. It's like, oh, what were my cards for today? Because I feel like this situation, the advice card is very prevalent right now, and so I'll kind of carry that with me. Then when I'm facing like bigger life issues, sometimes I forget to go to the cards. I'm like, oh, this needs cards. And then when it's that stuff, I'm like, yes, I'm lighting the candles, I'm lighting the incense, I am sitting down, I'm breathing, or I meditate with an oracle card every day as well. So that I always pull an oracle card to meditate on. So I really try to incorporate them in different ways. And then sometimes I'm just randomly pulling cards like, okay, what do I need to be working on right now? Or how can I be pursuing, taking a more active role in pursuing my next goal? Or what is it that I dream for my future? I'll do lots of card pulls like that for myself as well.
I love that, because lately what I've just been doing is I'm like, okay, what do I need to be aware of for the next 24 hours to kind of like get me through the day? And then, like you said, there'll be something that pop up and it'd be like, oh my gosh, that makes sense of my reading that I did for myself last night. Like, like, so that's kind of like where I'm at right now. So I love getting other people's like, what do you do? Because I kind of like to incorporate different styles every now and then. I'm like, I also like to work a lot. Like, for me, what I do is like, I have my own space where I read for other people. And then I literally have my own space where I read for myself, just so I don't get the energies kind of like mixed up. You do the same thing. Like, you have your own space to where you're just like, all right, this is my space and this is where I do my readings. Like, nobody bother me.
Well, I have a whole darn house to myself, so that makes it a little easier for me to sort of make my space wherever the heck I happen to be. Now, I do have so usually you guys see in my videos, I'm on the opposite side of the room where I usually am, because I'm like, I'm just going to get cozy while I'm chatting with Renee today. But usually I'm on the other side over there where I have my tarot desk. And that's where I have like all the decks that I have out that I kind of work with daily. So there's a tarot space there, but then also in my room, in my bedroom, I have like a shelf, and I have kind of like I have a couple of decks there that I sit out there. So sometimes I'll sit on my bed and, pull some cards. Now I had like the main level of my house. I have 3 levels in my house. And so I'm right now on the top level. My bedroom's on the top level. And then my main level is like my living, kitchen, dining. And I was like, this area is very barren. There's no magical stuff happening here. There's no cards down here. So I, for years, have had a collection of martini glasses. It stems back to my obsession with the show Sex and the City. I'm just going to confess. And so I had this whole collection of martini glasses that have been sitting in this case, gathering dust. I was like, that case would look beautiful with a bunch of tarot decks, oracle decks, crystal decks. So I trucked down like a huge basket full of decks. I'm like, okay, I need to have decks accessible wherever I am in the house.
Right?
So now that's kind of the thing.
Because why not? I mean, you never know. You're just gonna have to be like, what if there's something that I need to know like right now? And it's like, oh look, there's
Right.
one right there. Like,
Right. And so like I'll have like a deck, like I have like the Herb Crafter tarot deck down in the kitchen. I'm like, well, what better place for that deck to be, right?
that's perfect. I love
Yeah.
that. See, eventually I will get to that level. Eventually.
Well, it can get a little expensive. I'm not going to lie. Like it's not necessary by any means. I just, feel like it's something that I love. It's something that allows me to have a better sort of work-life balance, right? So tarot is the thing that kind of got me out of, I used to sit down at my computer and I used to work until 10 o'clock at night, most nights. I would work 60, 70 hour day or weeks. And just because that's what I did with my time. And I was, and I like to be doing, and I like to be learning, and I like to be productive. So when I found tarot and divination and all the things that come with it, suddenly there was this huge opportunity for me to learn and grow and develop without it having to be centered around my work. It's something that I could really bring into my personal life and expand my spiritual life and all of these things. And now I work very normal work week. I still get a lot done. I'm a much happier person. Let me just tell you, I'm much, much more pleasant to be around than I would have been back then because I was stressed all the time.
I feel like we all need something in our lives that really helps us focus on like self-love and like our journey, and just to help us relax, because sometimes honestly I will just sit here and I'll shuffle the cards as a way of just like de-stressing and like relaxing, and I know my husband sometimes looks at me and she's like, are you doing a reading for someone? I'm like, no, I'm literally just here shuffling cards, like, and so it's
like, this is my happy place.
Yes.
A deck in hand, shuffling.
Exactly. And it also helps bring the energy within the decks and whatnot. So, so what decks are you currently working with right now?
Oh gosh. Okay. So I have the Tarot of the Abyss, which is the new one by Anna Turian. It's mass market US Games. Love it. I have the
want to show up? Feel free.
I have it right. I had it and then I brought a different deck, but I can run and get that one in a second if you guys haven't seen it, because it's one of those that I don't, unless you knew that it was coming out, maybe you aren't so aware of it. But also I have this deck. This is the second version of the deck that I have. This is the Tarot de Saint Croix by Lisa de Saint Croix. She just re-released this in this borderless version. My lighting's kind of glary there, but it's such a beautiful, look at this Lover's card. Is that not amazing? Like one of the best Lover's cards ever, in my opinion. Six of Pentacles is really different, and I recently edged it in black because I had to, but I had the original version that had kind of these big, bold orange. I think she calls them terracotta, or somebody else called them terracotta borders, which were, and I at first was like, oh, that's a lot of orange, kind of like the yellow with the RWS. And then because I became so attached to the deck, I'm like, oh, I kind of love the orange. And then she released it in the borderless. I'm like, well, I bitched about the orange. Sorry but I was like, I need to get the, and support this new version. So now I have both and I just love it.
It looks a little, the backs look like Halloween to me and I'm obsessed.
I thought so too. Yeah. Because the colors, right? It's like that creepy moon and things. Without the orange, I think it's a little less Halloween-y. But
I can imagine why she would put the orange in the first place. But yeah, that reminds me of Halloween, and I'm all for it.
Oh, and this card keeps stalking me. This Knight of Wands. It says, which is all about like apparently spiritual enlightenment. I'm like, well, I'm all for being enlightened, so why the heck not?
Right? Love the Knight of Wands.
Let's see. I have the Witchling Academy out because that's just freaking cute as heck. And then I have an RWS out, of course, and then like the Moonshot. So it's just like, but I'll rotate through them. But those are the ones that are kind of currently on my working space.
Yeah, I love that. Well, if you want, we can go ahead and open up the chat for questions. How does that sound?
Yeah. That sounds great. I'm open to questions. I see that, hi, Kim at Abundant Life Tarot is here. She was one of our Tarot-thon participants, as was, we have quite a few folks who were in Tarot-thon with us in the chat here. We have Corvin Tailraven Tarot, Richard Longmain Tarot. I think Simon popped into the chat. But Kim said, I used to be able to parse out my reading spaces when I lived in a house, now small living, now in the Dominican Republic. The client readings have the reading table and I read for myself elsewhere. See, but you know, you still find a way to make your space no matter where, right?
Exactly. Hi, Spirit Healing Tarot. All right, so yes, if anybody has questions for Jen, please feel free to ask. You can go ahead and put it in all caps. That way we make sure we don't miss it. And we're open to taking any kind of questions as well, too, whether it be about tarot, spirituality. We're ready.
Yeah, I saw that Scott at Scorpio Moon Tarot said he learned how to edge his decks from Simon. This, like, do you mod your decks, Renee? Do you make any? Do you trim? Do you edge?
I'm too afraid at this point in time. I really, really want to, and I have told myself, like, okay, because I do have some decks where I have like extra copies. So I was like, well, I could just use the extra copy just in case, like just to practice. But even then, I'm still kind of like, but what if I mess up? Like the Aries in me, I swear, sometimes I'm a perfectionist and that stops me from doing a lot of stuff. But I do eventually want to do that.
Yeah, I constantly refer to myself as a recovering perfectionist. And I've decided life is a lot easier if you give yourself a little grace. So for example, like I edged this deck and the sharp or the marker that I used was like a chisel tipped marker and it was a little thick. So when it edges, like you can see how it kind of creates that wraparound border around the edges. Do you see kind of see? Yeah. But it's like, it's uneven. It's not the same on every card, but yet it does like actually draw the artwork out, I feel like, and I really kind of love it, but then it just makes it feel so lush, right? When it's edged like that. And it is a way to like connect with the deck. If you can let go of the perfectionist tendencies. I've only trimmed like 2 decks. I trimmed the Crystal Visions, which I think anybody who has that vision feels like it just has to be trimmed.
That was the first deck that I really like deep dived into tarot with, because I had originally gotten another deck, but I wasn't really connecting with it. I kind of just wanted a deck just to kind of like get started, you know? So I went to my local Barnes & Noble and I was like, I grabbed the first one that kind of like I saw and I purchased it, right? But also because I was like a little bit nervous like to do so. So I was kind of like in and out, you know? And then when I started to be like more calm and more like, okay, like I'm really gonna like get into this. So I went on Amazon and, well, obviously I went on YouTube first just to see a whole bunch of like walkthroughs and to see what kind of people were like bringing out. And I think at that time, Crystal Visions was really popular. So I was like, that deck is calling me, I'm going to order it. So I ordered it on Amazon and that was the first deck that really like I started diving deep into tarot with.
Oh, that's cool. What a good story. I remember I got it fairly early in my journey as well, but I was looking through, like I was at a small metaphysical store up in Canada and they didn't have the deck, but they had like a binder full of decks that they would sometimes have. And I looked through it and I remember seeing the images. I'm like, well, it's purple. Well, purple is my favorite color. So that was pretty much all I needed to want to get it. And so then I think I ordered that one on Amazon after I ended up seeing it in the book. But I was like, oh, these borders, it's just like this artwork is so bold. And I did. So that was the first one that I actually trimmed. And it turned out all right, but I did it with scissors, which I do not have a steady hand. I'm like, okay, like just like,
I get too nervous. So I'm like, I'm like, nope.
Yeah. But I went and bought like a brand new pair of scissors, like extra duty, like, I don't know. They were probably like $20 scissors or something. I was like, okay, they have to be sharp. They've never been used to cut anything before ever. Like, the amount of money I put into modifying that little deck is probably kind of ridiculous.
I can imagine. So Elle is asking, what's some of your favorite advice to give? I like that question.
Oh, just in general, can I give any kind of life advice or do you mean it regarding tarot?
Maybe a little bit of both. Why not?
Let's see. My best advice that I can give about life is just be a good human.
Yeah.
It's really not as hard as we all think it is.
I
And
agree.
sometimes I feel like if people would just go out into the world with the intention of being a good human, we'd be in a really good spot. Like
Better.
get out of your own head, get out of your own way, get out of what it is you think you're entitled to. Just
Right. Yes.
lead with good humanness. So that would be my good life advice there. When it comes to tarot, I would definitely say, like, don't assume that there are rules. You can make your practice or even if it's not a practice, even if it's just an interest or a hobby or something you want to turn into a lifelong business that you do professionally, right? I think not feeling like you have to follow rules. Because when we first start reading, and we've heard people talk about this so much, that, oh, when I first read, you have to be gifted your first deck. You need to wrap it in silk. You need to not do this or not do that. Yeah. And it's like, yes, you want to be, I think, respectful of this tool that you expect to give you so many things, right? Like treat it well, but there's nothing that says you have to. Or if you learn this particular system, but then for whatever reason, when the cards come up, they mean something different to you because of your own life experience or the wisdom that you can bring to it. Or if you only pick it up occasionally, or some people, I think, get weirded out when you don't read for others, and some people get weirded out when you don't read for yourself. And I think all of the things are valid. Like I have my adopted sister after I became interested in tarot, one night she came over to my house and we had what we called wine and tarot night. And I did a reading for her, which was really interesting and fun. And some things came out of that. And so she got really interested in cartomancy, but for her, it was oracle cards. And she like mixes and matches and just pulls random cards and whatever decks speak to her. And sometimes she's choosing randomly and sometimes she's choosing deliberately. And it's like, okay, this card comes up. Okay, I'm going to work with that for a while. And, so it's like she's evolved into whatever. It's not any kind of, she mixes tarot and oracle all together, which we know so many people do.
I do that too. I love it.
It's just like, throw away the rules, do what you want to do for you, because it's your path, it's your practice. And other people don't get to have a say in how you pursue a spiritual relationship with the universe, with a deity, with whomever, right? That's so personal. Yeah. Yes, and if you choose to share it, then that's great. But I don't think people should get to think that they get to tell you what to do with that. That kind of makes me a little crazy. Sorry, that was a soapbox. Somebody. So don't listen to all those people. It's advice.
I agree. Because like I'm also on TikTok, right? And I feel like TikTok recently has become a place of where everybody is just like judging everybody, like what they do with what they're doing, like, So I remember getting this one comment and she was like, I will never go to you because you don't take the jumpers. You pick like what you're reading, right? Because I riffle shuffle and then I like split the deck and then that's how I get the cards out, right? I'm not one to, I do take jumpers, but only when I feel necessary, like only when I feel like, okay, like, yes, that's actually calling to me. Because not all jumpers for me anyways are what you're supposed to be reading, right? So like I said, everybody is different. So like when she commented that, I was like, what? Who made that rule to where it's only jumpers?
So I'm a riffle shuffler too, right? And I cut the deck and I kind of will take a deep breath and then I'll split the deck. Although I have this one oracle deck that was sent to me actually for review, which I'll be featuring on my channel probably next week. And it's amazing. But for some reason, this has never happened to me in my whole cartomancy life. I feel like I am supposed to take jumpers or cards that like maybe separate themselves from the deck. And when I have done that with this deck, I have gotten some profound and very perfectly timed cards. I don't know what it is about that one deck. It's an oracle deck. That's never happened. But anyway, that's my thing with just the one deck.
Yeah. See, like all that too. Every deck. Every deck.
I've done that before. Elle screenshotted it.
completely different. And so you really have to take that into consideration as well. That's why also getting in tune with the energy, getting in tune with also being very persistent also I think has a lot to do with it. But like, yeah, I agree. Every deck has a different energy to it.
So true. So true.
Yesterday, it's still yesterday's fault because yesterday my husband and I were reading with the sex cards. Have you seen them? Let me bring
No.
them up. If I can find them, I don't know where he put them. Okay, so my husband and I were reading with this deck yesterday, so I'm guessing it's still.
Oh, you've got it in the brain.
So if anybody doesn't have this deck, it is really fun to work with. I'm just saying.
I might need to go look it up.
All right, let's see if I've missed any other questions.
Yeah, we had a few come in. We're getting some from some folks in all caps here.
Yeah. Let me scroll back up. If you see any that you want to let me know too.
So Simon asked, is there a deck that I haven't ordered yet, but I keep going back to?
Found it.
That's a good question. That I keep going back to. Okay, so I'm totally cheating right now, and I'm pulling up my Libib because although if you don't spell it right, it's not going to pull it up. I'm just going to tell you right now here. I would say it's funny because I feel like a lot of times when I do that, then people are really nice to me, and then I end up getting it for like my birthday or Christmas or something. There is, the Playful Heart Tarot. That's one that keeps kind of like, I had it on my list and then I took it off my list. And then I had it on my list and then now it's still on my list. But that was one that I just think is so sweet and so cute. And it's playful. And then I'm like, do I really need it? Will I use it? Do you have that one or have you seen it?
No. I don't have that one, but recently my friend Tarot Oracle did an interview with the creator of it. And after I saw that, I started to get a little bit more interested in it because I was like, now you can see like her perspective, like the work that she put into it. And you really got to like learn more about it. So I agree. I think that deck is really, really pretty. And of course the colors.
Right. Right. And it just kind of keeps like, oh, you probably and it's not one that I like need to have right this minute, but I think if I were to get it or bring it into my life, I think I'd really enjoy it. But I also tend to, when, a lot of people will use decks like that for like inner child work or connect. And sometimes I'm like, oh, inner child work. Oh, that's going to be some hard work. And then like, it's like, which probably means I probably should get and work with the deck when I have a reaction like that. But
yeah,
sometimes I'm like, I don't know if I have the energy to tap into the inner child and deal with all that because it's going to be something to deal with.
I'm going to check my wish list to see which ones I have been trying to go back to because I know there are a couple that I've had, but like I always just end up putting them on my wish list and kind of like waiting for the right moment to purchase it. So let's see.
And I do have stuff on my wish list that's like out of print, like, right. I'd love to see like the Tarot of Delphi come back, but I just don't want to pay $500 for it. I just can't make myself do it. And not that I haven't done it before, but yeah, sometimes I'm like, oh, it's really beautiful. And I've seen it in person, but I don't know. I think I'll just wait and hope that it comes back.
I think the most I've spent on a deck is $65, which is the Blacklight Tarot, and I do not regret it. It was like the most expensive, but the most worth it, I think.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you my most. Well, I probably said before, but it's just like.
If I could, I would. Trust me.
Yeah. That's why I have that job that I worked 60 to 70 hours a week.
All those hours you put in, I agree.
That's right. It supports my tarot love.
So for me, I think what I keep going back to is the Dark Wood Tarot. That one I've had on my wish list for a hot minute. I just still haven't pressed the purchase button just yet. But I also think because I'm waiting for like the fall season to come along because I feel like I would use it more during the fall season, like during Halloween season. That one is one. And another one also is the Heaven and Earth Tarot too. That one I've been wanting to purchase too, but I still just have not yet made the purchase.
Yeah, that one I was considering for a long time, and I ended up buying it for a friend of mine, and I just knew she would love it. And again, that one kind of is in that digital art space that, like, if 2 years
Yeah.
ago, I would have jumped on that super fast. And now my tastes have changed a little bit where I'm like a little bit slower because I feel like it's kind of similar to some other decks that I have, but it's really beautiful and it does kind of draw me in. And it's like, like I said, if I were to suddenly like end up with it, I would be like, okay. But I just keep
Yeah.
looking, I'm like, okay. I can maybe appreciate that it's out there and that other people have it and that I can see it, but I don't feel quite as called to get that one like I did before. So it actually kind of fell off my wish list. That one did.
Yeah.
But it's pretty. It's really pretty.
It really is. And I also like I said, I don't think I have anything similar to that in my collection already. As far as the heaven and earth anyways. So let's see, any other questions we have missed?
Yeah. So Kim in Abundant Life Tarot, just right under Simon there, asked, what's the deck I can't put down or we can't put down? Well, for right now, like this is why it came over with me. Like this Tarot de Saint Croix, like I've had both versions of this out on my workspace for ever. Really don't want to put this down. And lately, again, to the Tarot of the Abyss by Anna Turian, I just feel like it's such a beautiful deck. I always have some version of the RWS kind of nearby, but yeah, this one is like, I just can't put it away for long, or I put it away and I'm like, okay, I'll work with some other decks. And then it just keeps coming back out.
Yeah.
And never in a million years would I have thought that this would be the deck that would just be one that I couldn't put down. But it just, every time I read with it, it's right on point. Just, yeah. What's one that you can't put down, Renee? We might as well have you answer this as well.
Me, I think it would be, I guess the Light Seers Tarot, because that's like my soul deck. So for me, it always continuously, like, even though I try to put it away for a little bit because I try to get like other decks in my collection, but I think for me, definitely the Light Seers just always pops up every now and then.
Same. That's like my go-to deck for what, like, if I need to do a deep reading for myself, like I told you, like outside of my daily draws, right? And I'm dealing with a big life issue or maybe the beginning of the year, that deck every time comes out because I just know that that's going to give me some really good readings. And I love the artwork so much. It is definitely a favorite for sure.
And then for me, I'm more of like an intuitive reader. So that deck really brings out my intuition like big time. Yes. So what else? Let's see.
Yeah, I'm scrolling through the chat. You guys, there's so many people in here. So many good names. Sean saying "told you so" about the Tarot de Saint Croix. Sean, is that one? Was that?
I love that.
I know.
Let's see.
This is cute. This is a cute question from Gypsy Heart Tarot. Do you see this one? Just came through.
Just came through. All right. Got it.
Yeah. Which deck would you like to visit for a holiday? Oh, man.
That's a good question.
I'm so obsessed with getting to the ocean, the beach. I'm like, what deck reminds me of the beach?
That's like, one. I got the Mermaid Tarot. This one reminds
me that would be a good one.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, the Victorian Romantic Tarot. Maybe that, like so much beautiful countryside. Maybe that one. I'm looking around. I don't think I want to go to visit the Japaridse Tarot. I think I'd come away feeling like I was on drugs. Oh, the Spacious Tarot. Can I go there?
Yes.
Like, yes, it's so calm. No, Simon, I'm not going to visit the deviant moon. like the Spacious Tarot, like it's just like so serene. I can see myself in so many landscapes. I mean, that's the whole point of that deck, right? To see myself in so many landscapes of that deck. That would be an adventure, I think.
For sure.
Oh, and that's a good one too, Sandra. Sandra says the Forest of Enchantment. Yes, totally. I would totally go visit there. Storybook land for sure. Oh, the Everyday Witch. I should know that. That's like one of my favorites. You're right. Like
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Nine of Cups, where she's sitting on the beach with her little sandcastle, tossing her hat in the air. I think that's the Nine of
Yes.
Cups, right? Oh yeah, that would totally be me.
Do I have
Yeah.
it?
Oh, these guys, you guys know how to go visit a tarot deck on a holiday. I'm like
Yeah.
still lounging. I'm like, can I go to the beach? I just booked
Ooh,
myself a beachside holiday for August as my consolation vacation because I was supposed to go to the UK again this year, but COVID still hasn't loosened up just enough yet. So I'm like, okay, I'm
right.
going to go to the beach and the seaside, take my dog, and we are going to spend a couple days in a quiet room that overlooks the ocean. And I'm very much looking forward to that. So I'll have to take the Everyday Witch with me for that.
I have not gone on vacation in a minute, so that sounds amazing.
Mhm.
I had thought of the deck and I forgot what is the name of it? The Tarot Mystical Moments, I think, for me would be a good
Ooh.
way because that really like it's different for me, but also again, just like the colors and the artwork is just so very different. So I think that would be kind of like fun and interesting. Like, that I
Yeah,
almost
very
forgot what it was called.
fantastical, like adventurous and like a little Alice through the looking glass kind of thing, right?
Yes, a little bit. What's the word? Supernatural. I feel like that deck for me really brings out supernatural, but in a different
Mhm.
aspect, in a way. Like, does that make sense?
It does. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Gypsy Heart said divine masculine for some saucy fun. Oh yeah, that would be a place to visit. That's for darn sure.
For sure.
And then Sean says the majestic earth tarot. So again, kind of reminds me of like, yeah, all the calm landscapes. So many places to visit. That like would take you all over the world, wouldn't it?
Yes, indeed. For sure.
The sacred
Anything,
India tarot. Oh, I don't know that I know
I don't
that
think I know.
one.
What is it?
But just
Sacred.
the sound of it sounds intriguing.
That
Spirit
does.
Healing Tarot said that, I think.
Mystical Moments is one of my favorites. Yeah, I love it. I definitely need to work with it more, but the times that I have worked with it, it really gave me some very deep readings.
Yeah, so now we're all like thinking about where we want to go on vacation right
Yeah,
now
we're all in
with
like
our tarot. Yeah.
on the road, and then like of course because of COVID and everything, I think everybody's ready to just get out there a little bit.
Oh, seriously. So Chris said lights here spend the whole holiday on the Knight of Cups picnic blanket.
Ooh,
Oh yeah,
right.
that Knight of Cups. Like because that's the one like the pig is flying and it's just like there's like isn't no yeah, is that the Knight of Cups? Or is that the Page of Cups?
All of my decks are in the box, so I'm used to having them here, like just bringing them out and like looking through them, but they're in the box, so I cannot remember.
Yeah. But also in the Light Seers too, like the Queen of Swords, like, and she's my gal. The Queen of Swords is sort of the tarot card that I have always related with. Although I've been on a Queen of Pentacles journey, but I think if I really come home, I come back to Queen of Swords. But she's like sitting on this raft, right? That looks like it's blowing in the breeze, and she's like chilling, like I'm like, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
I'll go floating down the river. That's totally fine.
very relaxing.
Yes.
So do you identify with any other cards also? Because I know for me, I identify with the Magician, the Emperor, and the Queen of Wands. My three main ones.
Magician, the Emperor, and the Queen. Okay, I get that. I get that. Like you're like, okay, the perfectionist thing, along with obviously the Tarot Magician and the Queen of Wands. So yeah, I would say mine have been the Queen of Swords, the Nine of Pentacles is a huge one, like that, woman that's kind of and I say woman, but anyone, right, can identify with this card. But for me, I identify as woman, right? So it's like being able to like appreciate the things that you've worked so hard for and that you've gotten yourself to this place and that you can be grateful for that and for whatever abundance you've achieved for yourself in whatever way that looks like.
Right.
And in fact, the Bone Stone and Earth Flesh Tarot also has a Nine of Pentacles card and I keep staring at it. It's like over on my wall, but it has a dancer, and I have a huge passion for dance as well. So that kind of like brings that in for me a bit.
Uh-huh.
And then I would say from the major arcana, I strive like high priestess goals, like to really truly trust and know myself. And
Right.
sometimes I'm in that place where I'm really identifying, and sometimes I'm like, oh, I've got work to do to get to that place where I feel super secure in who I am and what I know and what that means, like what I know about myself, so that the
Mhm.
outside influences aren't so noisy for me sometimes. So
Right.
I think that one's a tarot card goals, if you will. Do you have a
I love
tarot
that.
card goal?
A tarot card goal. Let's see. I'm not, I haven't thought about that actually, but now that I think about it, I guess a goal for me would be to get more in tune with like the Pentacles suit in a way, because I'm so like fiery that like the Wand suit is like the ones that I identify with most, right? Because the Aries in me, like I'm just always on fire. So for me, I feel like I want to get more in tune with the Pentacle suit. I think that's the hardest one for me to get in tune with, also because like I know how they say like I'm always in like the third eye and the crown chakra like energy. I'm never like in the root chakra or like the bottom chakras, which do identify more with the Pentacle suit. So for me, I think that would be my goal, is to identify more with the Pentacles.
I actually like that whole idea of like identifying with a whole suit, because I'm an air sign, right? So like,
Uh-huh.
especially when I first started, and I'd love to know what folks in the chat too, like, have you guys thought about this?
Yes.
But
Please.
yeah, I think it could be really interesting to see some of the answers. But because of the
Yeah.
air signs, like I'm like the swords. Yeah, you're like, okay, I'll do the work. I'll confront the challenges. Like I'm an obstacle overcomer, all those things. So I really work what it's the cups that challenge me. It's the emotions. It's getting out of logic brain and
Yeah.
really getting in touch with my emotions. And even more so, in fact, this hit me upside the head here very recently, like being able to express my emotions. That's like such a vulnerable place.
It is.
And I grew up with people who were very much centered in the emotions, and I would say identify with cups cards, and
Yeah.
sometimes I was always having to like be the balance on the other side of that. So now, like trying to bring that back and incorporate more of that emotional energy and
Right.
is a challenge for me. But I feel like if I can get there, and again, I think that comes into with the high priestess too, believe it or not. I feel like she brings this security with the watery and the emotions and not worrying about what that looks like to other people. I
Yeah.
feel like I
Mhm.
will truly find my balance if I can actually allow myself to be more vulnerable in that way. Okay, so now
Right.
you got my whole like therapy couch confession there.
Yeah, I with the cup suit, I do identify because I'm an empath. So for me, I feel like with the emotions, that's where it kind of like triggers for me there. For me, I also am very of like a straightforward type of person. Even though I'm a fire sign, I feel like because of that, I am a straightforward. So that's where the swords energy really I feel like in tune with there. But it's still the Pentacles suit for me. That's like, okay, I need to focus more on just like grounding myself and like the stabilityness, and not always be like, in a different realm, so to speak, because, like I said, doing what I do, that's what I do. So for me, the supernatural part of it is kind of where I have to be like, all right, ground myself, Renee, just like relax, be more in tune with the earth. And get back what you need to be doing. Stop being such a daydreamer, I think, is my hardest like aspect when it comes to that side of it. So that's why for me, I'm like, okay, Pentacles, that's my hardest one.
Yeah. But I love that too, though, that you can be more in tune with the dreamy side and all of that. Like again, sort of getting myself out of my head has often been like a big challenge. It was for me to even just get into tarot, right? So being able
Mhm.
to feel like I can connect with something higher or greater than me, like and allowing myself to kind of get carried away and float away, I think I can more easily connect with pentacles and air, and I need to get more in touch with like the emotions and even the wands, right? It's like, okay, let's just run with this. Let's let the fire kind of propel
Yeah.
me forward. So yeah, it's funny.
Sweet.
It's almost like we're on exact opposites.
Like scales.
Yeah.
But I like that because sometimes opposites you learn from each other, so it can really help you like grow from it. Which
Yeah,
is
and I
why
think I tend to surround myself with people who are like that, right? I've had a lot of like fellow Libra best friends and exes and things like that, but I found like I grew the most. Like one of my best friends for a long time, she was very much she's a Taurus, but I would say she was almost Aries. Like she was right on the cusp there, and like really stretched me to think things through differently. And my adopted sister that I was telling you about earlier, she's an Aries as well. So yeah,
yeah.
she's fiery and I like it. I'm like, I need more of that.
Yeah, it can be tough, but it's definitely adventurous, I will say.
And never
Gypsy
boring, right?
oh, yeah, definitely never boring. Gypsy Hearts, I'm the Gemini moon with Capricorn. I connect with Pentacles and the Cups. Wow, you see that for me, that's like, what?
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I have my rising sign is Scorpio.
Mhm.
So, which is kind of surprising, but maybe that's why I want to get a bit more water. Maybe that's why that's something that I'm kind of trying to aim for.
My
I've been
rising sign is Taurus, so that's also where it makes sense too, because it's like maybe
okay.
you want to be more like involved.
Yeah. Or more like what sometimes people, well, no, a lot of people think I've got fire and I need to explore like the rest of my chart more. I'd gotten one, but I haven't like explored the full. I wonder how much fire is really in there because sometimes I feel like there should be more than what I'm seeing.
Yeah. Yeah. Whenever I read swords, I get headaches.
Oh no. I
Oh,
mean, I
that's
get a
funny.
headache when I see the swords come up, like the 8 and the 9. I'm like, oh, here we are again. Like, I gotta get it out of my head. I get it. Thank you, tarot.
I can imagine too. Yeah, the 8 and the 9 would probably be the most like it's funny how the 10 doesn't really freak people out most because I think the 10 brings a lot of people like relief. It's more like the 8 and the 9 where people start to get a little bit like, hmm.
Yeah, you're like, okay, can we get through this as quickly as possible? Thanks.
Yeah, so close. All right, guys. Well, if you guys have any last minute questions, because we have about 4 minutes left. That went by so fast. You see,
Yeah.
every time I do these, they go by so fast.
Well, this has been fun just to like hang out and chat and see what people are I was like, I'm not putting any pressure on myself today. I'm just going to hang out with Renee. I think that's going to be fun. And it has
That's
been.
what
So
I
thank you
like to
so
do.
much.
We can just chill, relax, not have to worry about anything. Just be ourselves, you know?
Right. So Scorpio
That's
Moon Tarot sees the Scorpio in me.
mhm. Miss Scorpio,
Yeah,
you
I
know?
need to get more familiar with Scorpio because don't they say like your rising sign is what people tend to see in you? Like that's more what you externally project is whatever your rising sign is. I
I think so,
wonder.
yeah. Mhm.
I need to find out more about that.
I think so. That would make sense too. Because like I said, my rising is a Taurus. And for me, that's where I feel like I said, I have most trouble with. But at the same time, I do tend to like calm myself down a lot of the time. So maybe that's where it kind of like balances itself out, you know?
Mhm.
I'm not sure, but I definitely want to get more into like the astrology side of things. But I've been telling myself that for like the past
Yeah.
year.
I have like 4 books sitting on my shelf that are just like, read me, read me. I'm like, I promise I'm going to get to you at some point.
I literally have the book that says everything you need to know about astrology. I think that's what the title of it is. And it's like this thick. So the
Oh,
thickness for me of it is what's kind of like,
it's a little
okay, I need
daunting.
to I'm not a book person.
Yeah, you got to start pulling those pages.
Yeah.
Right? I
So
mean, I
like
meant I meant the pages in the tarot, but it also literally means the pages in the book.
yeah.
So thanks to everyone who came to hang out with us today. It was so great to see so many friendly faces in the chat.
Yes, indeed.
Elle
Thank you.
says people would see me as a Virgo. Oh no, no, no.
Oh, no. With your sun sign Aquarius. I have a friend who's an Aquarius, so I can imagine why you would not want people to see you as a Virgo. Oh, that's too funny. Well, thank
Mhm.
you guys. I mean, we have 2 minutes, so I guess we can go ahead and close out from here. Jen, do you have any last minute things you kind of want to say or talk about? Just want to thank you for coming on and doing this with me in the first place. Like I said, I love doing these just to get to know people a little bit more because, you know, we always see each other in the chat and we say hi, but we never really get to have like a full on conversation.
Yeah, this was great. And I really appreciate you inviting me. And yeah, and I'm trying to get better about like engaging on Instagram. I haven't been so great about that, but I'm trying to get better. I'm working hard on it. I don't know why I'm Instagram dumb, but I'm going to. But I was like, oh, Renee shared this. I can share this on my story. Like I can do this. So, but I am Jen's Balanced Tarot on Instagram as well as here on YouTube. And really the whole goal, like if you come search for me, you're just going to see me kind of sharing the different aspects of my journey when it feels right to do so. So anyway, but it's been great and lovely spending time with you, Renee. So thank you so much.
Yes.
I appreciate it.
Well, thank you guys. Like I said, I believe I left her link down in the description box. If you're not already following her, which I'm pretty sure most of you guys are, so please make sure you do that. And I guess we will see you guys next time. I hope
have a great rest of your weekend.
Yes, stay safe and have a great weekend. All right. Bye, guys.